Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. My name is Brad Phillips, and we are here live at Tap 3, Main Street, Woodruff, South Carolina, as we are every Tuesday at 7 p.m. for the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. And as always, super thankful to the staff here at Tap 3 for being so hospitable and allowing us to jump in and do the Coaches Show here each week. We're going to start off the show this week with Woodruff Wolverines defensive coordinator Nick Lilly. Coach Lilly, thank you for jumping in.
Thank you.
And coming and talking with us tonight. I texted Coach Sloan and I was waiting. I wanted to have you on the show, and I was trying to figure out when is a good time. I feel like this is a good time. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
Okay.
But for a lot of the old school Wolverine fans, defense is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Defense is a big deal regardless in football. But there's a lot of appreciation for what the Woodruff Wolverines defense for the past 2 years has kind of brought to the table. And it's I pick on Coach Sloan. I love watching the offense. I love putting up a bunch of points on the scoreboard, but one of the most fun things for me is to see zero or as little amount of points on the visitor side of the scoreboard as possible is always an exciting part of football as well. And Coach, you've done an incredible job this year putting together a defense that's just hungry for contact. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of kids that are not afraid to put their shoulder pads on some guys and make some plays. And especially, man, I wish I had the stats. Garrett may have it. Garrett's here tonight, but we've had a ton of fourth down stops over the past 2 years, mm-hmm. which is something that's that's not something that happens a ton in high school football, but it's been incredible to watch. Being able to come into big games like we had Friday and really make a statement, specifically in the first half. We held MVP to 7 points going into the half, which is a team that had been averaging, I think, close to 50 points a game. I know they scored 50 points the week before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then being able to come in, we'll talk about the game specifically in just a second. But let's talk about you for just a minute, Coach. Okay. I know you were at JL Man for a little while, and you're originally from Ainer, South Carolina. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you down there close to the beach, mm-hmm. What got you kind of into coaching and wanting to get into the coaching thing at some point?
Well, I have to give credit to my high school head football coach, Jody Generette. He was awesome and kind of was a little bit of a mentor for me. Whenever I was in high school, and whenever I got out of high school, I kind of realized, I wasn't going to make it any farther than playing college football. I said, so I got to find a career somewhere, and I love the game. So coaching was one of the better ways I could stay around it.
Right.
And he was one of the people who called the first head coach I worked for on my behalf and, told him some good stuff and kind of helped me get hired. And some other people that I know kind of helped me in that aspect as well. And then just everybody that I've worked with since then, they've just been awesome,
Yeah, awesome. Coming into Woodruff with, we have a little bit of history behind our program, and winning championships and playing good football on Friday nights. What is can you kind of condense, what is your defensive philosophy? When you're working with the kids during the week, when you're working in the off season, what is the mentality? What is the thought process of, hey, this is what our defense is going to look like. This is what we're going to bring to the table. What's the thought process? I don't know if is that an easy or hard question?
It's easy and hard at the same time. So a lot of it's smoke and mirrors. We make things look like they're not what they appear to be sometimes, and then we layer things. So whenever we're going with one type of blitz from one side, we disguise it the next week or so. Right. We've done that this year a few times. And two things that we harp on all the time is playing physical and being fast.
Right.
Those are the two things that we absolutely have to do. They're non-negotiable. So.
Well, over the past couple of years, on the defensive side of the ball, we've really had some exceptional young men that, like I said earlier, they're hungry to play defense. You know, the playing defense doesn't necessarily come with all of the accolades and the awards and all the things. You don't necessarily get your name in the paper, you know, like some of the offensive guys do. But I'm telling you, I could start naming the guys, and I'm going to leave out some. But you know, our box specifically, nothing against our secondary guys. But our defensive box specifically causes a lot of problems.
Yes, they do.
You know, those guys are going to cause a lot of problems, regardless if it's MVP, if it's Chapman, whoever it is on any particular week. We've got a ton of guys in that group that are just going to they're going to wreak havoc every week.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you know, one particular player that comes to mind, Adrian Hill, has kind of come to he's kind of risen to the top for us this year, and he is a menace, Coach.
Yes, he is.
I mean, if you can, you know, kind of watch how he's developed over just this season, you know, really being able to make an impact like immediately has been great. You know, and I don't want you to single out him necessarily, but I don't know if you want to speak to like what his impact has made on that, you know, that's those 7 guys.
Well, he definitely makes us multiple because he can play nose, he can play tackle, and then when he came to us, he wanted to play linebacker, and so he was learning how to do blitzes and drop into coverage, and I was like, you know what, he probably needs to play with his hand on the ground. And so he's coming off the ball, he's tough, he's physical, and he's got a big wrestling background, and so he actually came into my classroom last year at the end of the semester. And I hooked him up with Coach Sloan, and I was like, we got to get this guy to play football. I mean, he's huge. He's already strong. We got him, and he worked hard all summer and learned the defense and did everything he was supposed to do, and he's been great for us.
Yeah, and it's been great to watch him and all the other guys that have contributed on defense. You know, let's maybe talk a little bit specifically about Friday night against MVP. You know, you have a team that's coming in that's, you know, they're athletic at basically every position.
Yeah, they are.
You know, is there a specific thought process from your end? I know you say we're kind of disguising some stuff over the past few weeks. What is your approach when you have a team like that you know on film coming in is going to be pretty athletic?
Well, our approach this time was basically just preparation and just being organized, making sure people were in the right spots at all times. You know, we had formations diagrammed out that we practiced against for, you know, during the bye week and during, you know, last week as well. And so we just harped on it over and over again. And then we're just physical and fast. You know, those are 2 things we absolutely have to do. So that's really
for sure. And I've noticed, you know, specifically on Friday and a lot of the things that they were trying to do. And you know, it's like in this day and age of this type of offense of football, you know, you want to shut down every single play.
Correct.
You know, but there's times when you have teams that are that athletic, man, Coach, they're going to make a play sometimes.
That's going to happen.
But from overall standpoint, you know, they had a few plays, a few long plays that were negated by penalties, those kind of things. But man, our coach, just watching our guys play their position, not trying to do too much, was just a thing of beauty. And I want to compliment the way we tackle.
Yeah,
our guys, you know, with the exception of, you know, maybe 1 or 2 games this year, you guys are more critical than I am probably. But you know, our guys tackle incredibly well in the open field. And I think about specifically a guy like Jackson McCarley that's in position to turn the ball inside every stinking time. Yeah. Like I you know, I'm sure he's probably missed an assignment or 2 this year, but it's a thing of beauty to see him play in that position, stringing the play out, making sure that, you know, the guys are gang tackling, or whoever's supposed to be there is going to follow up on what he's doing, you know.
Yeah, he does a really good job of setting the edge and playing his responsibility. And that's something we've been, Coach and I have been talking about, you know, since the Broom game, really, is just do your job. Just be responsible for what you're supposed to do. Our calls will take you to where you need to go. And so McCarley's one of them that does that all the time. Graybill does the same thing, and Jalen Robertson. The rest of our D-line, you know, from the box standpoint, they do a really good job of fitting the run and stopping those plays where a lot of people don't come up and fit like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, let's we had Corey back this week. Addison Davis is here. He played this week, and I still know I'm going to leave guys out. I'm not leaving you guys out on purpose. I promise. But we did have Corey back this week, which is definitely a help to the secondary, being able to have a little more added depth. I'm sure that was something that you guys were pumped about.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With somebody like KD with his speed, and a couple of their other guys being able to to have some matchups. I'm sure you're pumped to have Corey back this week.
Oh yeah, we definitely were. We rotated him in here and there. We're just trying to get him back to playing a full game.
Yeah.
And not gas him out too bad.
Right.
But having him and Dre Jenkins both being able to rotate in safety, corner, wherever we need them was awesome. Because they got some times where they were trying to get one-on-one matchups in places where it didn't favor us. So we were able to put them in spots to be successful there and help the defense out. And honestly, Malachi Thompson did a great job as well with KD. We had him press him up a good bit, and he kind of frustrated him at the line of scrimmage. He didn't get his releases like he wanted to. And he came up and set the edge on the run quite a few times. So, the back end played, all of them, they played great. And don't forget Damaris Baxley. He did great as well.
Baxley, right? Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, you can call them all. But here's one question I want to ask you about that. I noticed we had a little package with Aiden coming in.
Yeah, we did.
Talk to me a little bit about what that looks like and what that brings to the table for us when we can put together a little something special like that whenever we need it.
Yeah. So Aiden hadn't played any defense at all year long, and whenever Coach Sloan promoted me, one of the first things we did was put in a third down package during the summer and during the spring, and we just worked it here and there. It wasn't very much. And then Dre comes over to play safety for us. He comes off of his injury, and we put those two guys in. And whenever they first went in the game, I think it kind of panicked MVP a little bit, and they called a timeout immediately. They weren't ready for it. And so on the first time they were in, we ended up blitzing Dre from the safety spot. And we had been working on, another blitz that we had that disguised and looked kind of like that one. But Dre ended up getting some pressure on the quarterback. And then later on, we did the same thing with Aiden. He hadn't worked blitzing, at all in a game or anything. And so when he came, he came off the side and he said, "Coach, I almost got him." He was just so excited to do it. And so
yeah, the last thing we need to do is pump him up anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just messing.
You got to keep him humble. Yeah,
we love Aiden. But I love to see that happening. You guys using all of the weapons that we have. To be able to put together a package that's going to be, it's going to give us the most success on a Friday night. I love that thought process, and some old school Wolverines know everything about playing both ways.
Oh yeah.
There's a bunch of guys that won state championships that ended up playing for both ways for 4 quarters and special teams.
Oh yeah.
So it's a little bit of an old school thought process, but still at 3A, in the 3A level, there's opportunity where we do, are able to use some of the kids on both sides of the ball. But Coach, I just want to say, congrats thus far on the season. It's definitely a huge region win.
Yeah, it was.
On Friday, the town of Woodruff was about to explode on Friday. And, I just from me to you, Coach, incredible job this year working with these guys and, firing them up, preparing them, making sure that, each opponent, it's obvious to me we're super prepared. Our guys seem relaxed and they know what they're doing and know where they're supposed to be. You got a ton of experience on that side of the ball. And, man, just great work from the whole defensive crew. Big D, all you got. I have to shout out to Big D.
All of our assistant coaches on defense, man, they do a great job. I can always count on them. Just about if I had to step away, any one of them could probably step in and call the defense for me if I needed to. So it's great to have those guys.
Well, man, we're pumped to have you here. Pumped to have you at the defensive coordinator position. Any thoughts on the upcoming game against Chapman this week?
They do some gimmicky things on offense that can give you some problems. So we've just been focusing this week on possibility of how they could do some different stuff, and they've shown some different things past couple weeks against different opponents, and so it's hard to prepare for it. It's hard to fit all that into a 2-hour practice, But yeah, we're taking the same approach we did to MVP as we do to Chapman. We break everything down, we diagram it as best we can, and just kind of fit it together in buckets and boxes, and just tell the kids to go play and and just prepare them as best we can.
Nice, I love it. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming out, spending some time with us, talking a little bit of defense, and we're looking forward to trying to do the math. 5 more weeks, 6 more weeks,
something like that.
Yeah. Whatever the math is, I think everybody that's a Wolverine fan is looking forward to extended postseason this year, and I feel like we got a good shot to make a run here. And thanks for coming in once again, taking time with us.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a break for just a second, and we'll be right back with head coach Brett Sloan in just a few minutes. So you guys hang around with us, and we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. All right, everybody, we are back live at Tap 3 for the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. Once again, thank you to all the folks at Tap 3 for their hospitality every single week, hosting the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show Tuesdays at 7 p.m. during football season. And we are here tonight with head football coach Brett Sloan, as always. Coach, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this statement from my end, probably a signature win for the Brett Sloan era at Woodruff High School, coming from this past Friday. Wolverines going in.
Brad Phillips.
Wolverines going in as an underdog, honestly, and coming away with a huge win. Really just dominated in all facets of the game. 36-7 lead at the halftime. I don't know, Coach. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to digest, a lot to talk about. As a matter of fact, I think I was still getting text messages on Monday, yesterday, of how pumped people were about that game on Friday. And here we are. Yeah, that's exactly.
People here are still pumped, huh?
Yeah, everybody is still pumped. Everybody is still on cloud nine, and I don't want to dismiss the fact that it was a huge win, a huge region win, had huge implications towards the region championship. But don't want to be Debbie Downer, but we do have a game this week. Right. But let's talk a little bit about Friday, though. We'll start with that. MVP coming in as a highly touted team in the upstate, averaging close to 50 points a game, I believe, is where they were. Is that right, Garrett? Is that the right number? Close to 50 points a game. We held them to 7 points in the first half. I mentioned this to Coach Lilly just a little while ago. I said, I got a feeling Coach Sloan was going to be disappointed in one thing. I'm going to ask you this, but we kind of got outscored in the second half.
Yeah.
And we still won the game 49-28.
Sure.
But I felt like that would be one of the things that you might.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things you need to clean up. There's a lot that goes. I was really pleased. We still won the third quarter, though. Which going back to last year, third quarter was all we always struggled in, and it's been a huge emphasis for us this year, and we've done some things that we feel like have really helped with that. But to see us to win the first, second, and third quarter, obviously you'd like to finish a little bit better. We were battling a lot of things there late. It was a strange game in a lot of ways, especially for our defense, because I don't think I've ever coached a game where the shortest touchdown on offense was it was the first touchdown by Aiden, I believe, was a 34-yard run. Is that 38-yard run? Okay, so there was a 38-yard run, which I think was every single touchdown for us was an explosive play. So it was It was score really quick. Mm-hmm. And then the defense is right back out there, right? And so that kind of took its toll on us a little bit late because some of our defensive guys played 90 snaps, and that's almost double what they normally play, and obviously, like looking back on it in the second half, there's some things like there was a couple times where we had an opportunity to drive the football and we made some mistakes and ended up having to punt. So obviously, just the execution part in the second half is something we like to focus on and clean up, because there's some things there that could have helped us keep those defensive guys off the field a little bit, And then obviously the onside kick, but we were kind of you're kind of in that gray area where do you put the hands team out or do you not put the hands team out, and the first time the first two times we didn't, and then the second time. They did a nice job. The kicker did a really nice job of putting that kick exactly where it needed to be, because it's one of those deals like when they huddle behind the kicker, your front line and second line need to huddle some just in case it's kicked directly down the middle, so that they don't outnumber you there. So and then the trick is when they spread back out, you got to get back to your spots really, really quickly, Mm-hmm. And they did a nice job of that, and they had a plan there, and they really executed it. But if we could have done those two things a little bit better, I think it would have been a little bit different. But it's something to work on, something for us to continue to address.
And props to their kicker. That young man.
He's a great player.
He's a really good player.
He's a really good player.
Yeah,
yes, he really is.
He's a really good kicker, and props to him. He does an exceptional job, especially like on a situation like the onside kick. He places the ball really, really well.
I mean it was about as good of a kick as you could ask for, and he did a great job there. So tip of the hat to them for that, and it's something that we can learn from and we can work on, so.
Yeah, we talked about defense with Coach Lilly and how huge of an impact there, Coach. I know you give them the credit where it's due there, and but let's talk about the Woodruff Wolverines offense. Aiden Gibson had an incredibly explosive game.
He's got to play better, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he just. Somebody said he just scored again just a couple minutes ago. But like you just said. It was I don't know if I want to. It was a thing of beauty to watch, but it was also kind of like this is crazy that he touches the ball and he's just gone and scores, and then we get the ball back, he touches the ball, he's gone and he scores, that's kind of from an X's and O's standpoint, the way that MVP plays. Cover zero a lot of times. Then
anytime you play that style of defense, just very high risk, very high reward type deal, And if you're able to handle it and able to scheme it up in certain ways, and you're able to execute it, then once you break the line of scrimmage, there's really no secondary run fits and things like that, So
which is difficult to defend a guy that can run that. Like
that he can do, and not look. I'm not being critical as far as saying there's anything wrong with that. That's some people play that philosophy, and there's some good things to that too. It's just that's kind of how you have to attack it. Is you got to figure out how do we formation them or whatever, so that their numbers in the box don't mean quite as much. Like what can we do to even that out? And then if you can do that and you can execute it, once you get them to the second level, then it can be a touchdown really quickly.
Right.
So that's just some people's philosophy, and sometimes that's the way you play the game. And for us, we were able to handle that for the most part the other night really well. And Aiden did play; he played an exceptional game. But there were a lot of efforts that everyone else doesn't necessarily notice that contributed to that. I mean, I thought our offensive line played their best game from a run blocking standpoint for sure.
Yeah.
And then our receivers blocking down the field was pretty amazing too. Like the last long run down the visitor sideline that he had. You had huge blocks from Dre Jenkins and from Rylan Renfro, and then you see Caden Barnaby sprinting with him too. And it's just. It was an overall unit effort. It really was.
Caden was running pretty much as fast as Aiden was.
Yeah, and Caden can really run now.
Yeah.
So that was fun to see. And the old saying is, receivers make touchdown blocks.
Sure.
Offensive linemen make first down blocks.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of guys the other night who really did a great job of making some touchdown blocks too. So. Hats off to the whole unit. They did a great job. Connor did a great job. One thing that helped loosen it up is very early in the game, we run counter and he pulls it from the backside, and it's about a 25, 30-yard gain, so.
It's a thing of beauty, by the way, and Connor's sitting out here so I can talk about him.
Yeah,
but it's a thing of beauty for him to what do you refer to it as RPO? What do you refer to it?
Because
he can pull the ball at any moment.
Well, we do a lot of RPO stuff first of all, but that particular one is just if I remember correctly, it was just GT counter. Okay, where we're pulling the guard and tackle, and he's reading the backside end. So if that backside end chases the two pullers, then he's going to pull it out the backside. And if he doesn't, then he's going to hand the ball.
Yeah.
He chased, and Connor pulled, and we're out to get. And Connor he's got a really good feel for that. He really does. He does a nice job on the backside of counter, and it makes a difference because you can't. You have to defend that. You have to slow down a little bit, and you're not able to just jump in Aiden's back pocket on the backside. So that's part of being balanced, right?
Right.
And he does a really good job of that. So,
well, one thing I was going to say about that particular play and that particular style of play that we run, Connor's a magician in the way that the finesse of that play works, of hiding the ball. And there's times when I've been in the radio booth calling the game where it took me a couple seconds to catch up to realize that Connor still had the ball and not Aiden or whoever was in the backfield. So, that's a finesse type of thing that is a weapon, that we can use each week to deceive the defense.
He does a really good job of understanding he's got to read that backside C gap, because sometimes it's defensive end, sometimes it's maybe an outside backer. It may be that, depending on what they're doing, it may be more than one player that he's reading, so or one player, one in particular that he's reading. So to see him get us going like that was a lot of fun, and it helped our run game because they had to slow down a little bit on the backside, and that's always big.
You mentioned this, and Coach Lilly has mentioned this as well, but and I don't want to leave anyone out by not calling players' names, but a collective effort on both sides of the ball of all of our guys is really a thing of beauty as well, and watching, wide receivers blocking downfield, which is their job on a run play, doing your job, whatever your position is. Aiden got a lot of attention for scoring 5 touchdowns. That's awesome. We love Aiden. Aiden contributes just like everybody else does, and he also gave credit in a couple of the interviews that he had on Friday. He gave credit to the offensive line and everybody who was doing their job to open up holes for him to run and score. So that's another thing I love.
We played as a unit, and that that was a big part of what happened Friday night. Is we were a unit, and we weren't just a bunch of individuals. And we did a very good job there. So.
Yeah, and just the excitement of that type of atmosphere here at W.L. Varner Stadium. There was a lot of people there.
Yeah,
there was a lot of people there. There was a lot of people who came to watch that game.
There was a lot of energy in that place, and it was very loud at times. It was a fun environment. You could kind of from the time both teams ran through the paper, you could really cut the tension with a knife, in the stadium, and it was what high school football is supposed to look like, For sure. Really was. It was a lot of fun. So.
For sure, and it had a playoff type feel, honestly, across the board for the stadium, and sure. People standing along the fence and all those kind of things, kind of a little bit of an old school football feel sure. On Friday night, and just pumped that our Wolverines are able to come away with a win, because it really has huge implications towards region championship. We're not discounting the fact that we have 2 more region games, but you have to believe that particular game was going to determine some placement for the end of how the region panned out at the end of the year.
Sure.
And so, Coach, let's move on to the Chapman Panthers coming up this week. Chapman, long time Woodruff rivalry, your alma mater.
That's correct.
Kind of another special game, a little bit for you this week. Last year was we had an injury.
Yeah,
we had an injury that kind of stopped the game in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really get to finish the game. Game was well in hand.
Yeah,
we had it well in hand at the time, It was just different. We had and it was kind of, I know it was kind of frustrating for you guys. We had all that stuff happen with the hurricane. Finally came back to football. Didn't really get a full game against Chapman. But hopefully this year, no snags, no weird thing, and specifically praying for no injuries. But
sure.
The Chapman Panthers are coming to town. And I know that's a little bit of a special game to you, Coach. What does it look like this week when the Chapman Panthers come to town?
I think the first thing you got to do is you can't judge them by their record for sure, because they probably played one of the toughest schedules in the state, if not the toughest schedule in the state. So they have definitely been tested, and they've definitely played a lot of good teams. So, and I know Coach Cab pretty well. Coach Cab and I talk pretty often, and I got a lot of respect for him, and he does a great job, and that entire staff. They got a staff full of really good coaches, and they're going to keep battling, and being from there, I know kind of what those kids are made of too. They're not going to lay down and quit. And they're going to keep battling, and they expect to play for the region championship this Friday night, because I guess hypothetically, if they were to come in and get a win, then that puts them, they still only have 1 loss in the region, and
right.
Us and MVP would have 1 loss in the region, and then you start getting into tiebreaker stuff and all those things, So
we want to avoid all that nonsense.
We need to be dialed in, and we need to be focused, and we need to expect a really good football game on Friday night from a really good football team. They have a lot. Quarterback's a really good player, throws a really nice ball. They have a lot of skill talent as well, and then they've got some young guys in the secondary who I think are going to be phenomenal football players. Going to be really, really good. Their O-line's big and they're strong, and they're going to be a formidable challenge, and we got to be ready to go. So.
It's for
and it's rivalry,
Tradition. That's what I was about to say.
Traditionally, it's a rivalry.
Traditional
as well, so.
Wolverine fans always want to whoop Chapman, and I think I just got some numbers from Garrett, which is interesting. Let me share this with you. So Woodruff is 39-21-2 overall against Chapman. The first meeting was in 1954, so 63 overall games have been played between Woodruff and Chapman. I don't know what the longest standing rivalry is in the state, but we have a couple of long. Clinton being one that's the super long rivalry game for us, and then Chapman probably being another one. But you can't discount any game, any week, any time.
Sure,
got to still be on our toes when Chapman comes to town, and go ahead and finish out the region with 2 more wins here. We have one more game coming up in next week at Union as well. But I'm gonna ask a philosophical question. Let's talk football philosophy just a second, and then we'll wrap up with Chapman here in a minute. But I had a former college football coach make this statement to me. I don't know. It's been a week or two ago, but his statement was that in order to win championships, in order to be a good football team, you have to be the team that gets better the longest.
Sure.
So essentially, what he's saying is the week prior you have to be better the next week, and then you have to be better the next week, and then you have to be better the next week in order to make a run towards a championship. How do you approach that thought process, Coach?
Well, we talk about one thing, and we bring this up pretty often in our program, and it's something that I heard Nick Saban say, so it's something I guess I stole it from Nick Saban, but that's probably a good guy to copy, right?
Sure. So, yeah, not a bad guy.
But Nick Saban always said there are 2 things that keep good teams from becoming great teams, or keep people from going from good to great. And the 2 things are A, selfishness, okay, all right, and then B, complacency. So it has to go back to every single week doing what's best for the team, and then number 2, understanding that even though the scoreboard looked like what it did last Friday night, there's still a lot of things that need to be fixed. There are a lot of things that we could have done much, much better.
Right.
And it's zeroing in on those things and making sure they understand. And we talk about enjoying the journey, right? Yeah. Okay, because we talked about that a couple of weeks ago. It's like, look, stop pressing, relax, and play, and enjoy playing football together. Because one day, no matter how this thing ends, I've coached in a state championship game, and I got a lot of guys on our staff that have won several, and they'll all tell you they remember a whole lot more about the journey. They remember a lot more about the season than they do that one individual day, right? So they're going to remember a whole lot more. That you remember the things like Breakfast of Champions, and you remember things. It's funny the things that we remember sometimes. A lot of times it's the hard days. It's when everybody got thrown out of the weight room by Coach T or whatever. There's things. Those things stick with you. And I think we try to focus on being present, and making sure that we don't become selfish, and make sure that we don't become complacent, and we talk about those things pretty often, as far as the team goes. So.
Well, it's an interesting challenge from a coaching standpoint to, what's the right terminology? Peak at the right time,
sure.
All that kind of stuff, and it's an interesting thing to me to how that happens and how you teach and you work and you continually get better every week. Because
some of it's physical too, and which is why we're so blessed with having all that catapult technology and all those things. Because, for example, like some of our defensive guys yesterday, look, we practiced well, but their numbers, like their sprint numbers, were a mile per hour or more below what they usually are.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they played 90 plays on Friday night. Yeah, it wasn't. They weren't loafing. I mean, these are guys that, and they don't loaf very much anymore because we know if they loaf or not, because we got that
they can't hide.
They can't go 90% and fool you, right? Because we know what their 100% is, and we can go back and we can reference.
That's terrible. That's terrible. You can't even loaf now because without seeing the numbers.
You can't really hide your effort anymore, because we'll post it sometimes. Sometimes it gets posted in the weight rooms. So if you loaf or you're not giving effort, everybody knows it. And so it wasn't that. It was that they were fatigued. And figuring out how to use that data and to keep them with fresh legs when you get into November and things like that is. I think there's an art to that,
Sure, yeah.
And there's some, I'm always amazed by the people, the coaches who could do it without all that data, and then, so, my other question comes to my head is how much better would they have been had they had that data, because those guys, some guys who never had that, they had an unbelievable feel for it, but it's all about having them fresh and ready to go.
I specifically think about several of the teams Coach Varner had here, and Coach Varner's non-region schedule was absolutely brutal. Gaffney, we're a 2A school playing Gaffney in the non-region. What? No one in their right mind in 2A football right now would try to schedule Gaffney, but Gaffney would schedule us because they knew we were going to come up there and we were going to whoop on them, and to make them be prepared for region and postseason and all those things. And that's another approach to this whole thing, in my opinion, where you try to play somebody who's going to challenge you in the first half of the season, prepares you for the region. You can't do anything about with the teams that are in your region, right? You have whoever's in your region is who you play, whether they're good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. In hopes that you can even if you lose a couple in that non-region schedule, you can still go through the region and going into playoffs and ramping up and peaking at the right time, all those things like you were talking about.
Well, you're either winning or learning, one of the two. Is what I've heard a lot of good coaches say. You're either winning the game or you're learning from the game. Or learning from the loss, if you want to say it that way. But. It goes back to kind of like what we talked about at Wren. I felt like what happened at Wren helped us last Friday night.
Oh, 1,000%.
Like it 1,000% helped us last Friday night.
Yeah.
And credit to our kids and our coaches because they used it so that they were ready for that situation. And that's why you go play people like Wren and Emerald and Clinton and we played a good schedule too. Fountain Inn's a good football team. We played them. We played some really strong football teams, and I think that's helped prepare us for,
for sure.
Hopefully for the rest of the region and then for the playoffs. So.
Yeah, man. You could see. I sent Coach Thomas a message. I don't know. Might have been 1:00 Friday night, or Saturday morning, whatever it was. But Coach Thomas was posting videos and all the things, and I think I sent him a message and just to reiterate the fact that it was evident to me. Our conditioning and preparation on the field on Friday, equipped us to be able to do what we did, in my opinion. You could see, to me, you could see the difference between two teams who were prepared, who were conditioned, who were ready to go, and as always, props to Coach T for making sure that our guys are. You can tell that they're ready to go. I think one of the videos he posted was the click-clack entrance across the parking lot. He was pumped about that, kind of getting his bird's eye perspective of the click-clack walk across the parking lot. But as we said 100 times, credit goes to him for the work that he puts in to make sure that our kids are not gassed by when Friday's here.
Best in the business, man. He's the best in the business. He's really, really good at what he does.
And I know it's
really grateful for.
Well, I know it's a collective effort.
And Coach Brown helps. Coach Wes Brown's plays a big role in that as well. And I thank both of those guys for all the work they do and things they do because they're really, really good at their jobs. So.
Yeah, but but being able to go into a really big game like that, and all of our kids contributed it. Pretty much 100%. We had some injuries that were back. Corey was back, and he had not played football in close to 3 weeks, I guess. And being able to, that's one of the things that I love about you guys. Corey not playing, keeping him kind of in a spot where he could come back in, but not totally gassing Corey on a Friday because you don't want him to get injured again or any of our other kids to get injured for that matter. But being able to have the knowledge to be like, we can't run Corey to death on his first game back. Thankfully, he was there.
Well, and Coach T did a really good job on Friday night of, we had him in there at one point pretty late in the game. And as the head coach, sometimes you get caught up with everything else going on. There's a lot going on. And he just put a real quick, word in my ear that, hey, we probably need to think about getting him out, and he was right. He was right. So sometimes it just he does a good job of that because he can think about the game from a health and performance standpoint, and the longevity of that. So I'm really grateful for what those guys do. So.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. Just an exciting performance from this past Friday. Not to beat a dead horse, but it was a really, really good experience. It was it was exciting for. I think it was exciting overall. A little bit of energy for our entire Wolverine fan base. To be able to experience an electric atmosphere and a big win like that, giving us some energy kind of coming into the end of the region. It was awesome to be a part of. Appreciate all you guys' work that you put in. I know the kids got a lot of hugs and a lot of high fives from people on Friday night for the work that they put in to entertain us on Friday nights. Sure. It was a really, really good experience. Great to be a part of it.
The challenge now is to turn the page, and you got to go one at a time, right? One at a time. And I think they've done a good job of that, though. We've had a couple good practices, and, I think we'll have a really strong practice again tomorrow. So I think they're dialed in. I mean, they better be. It's a chance to compete for a region championship at home on senior night. That's what you live. That's what you live for.
That's right.
And that's what they've been working for however long they've been playing football. That's what they've been working for. So
right.
If you can't get ready for this one, I don't know. I don't know what you're going to get ready for, So, but
I love it. Well, Coach, we'll wrap up for tonight. But if you're out there, Woodruff Wolverine fans, senior night this coming Friday. Whether you're connected with the senior or not, come out and support these guys for the hard work they put in this year. And we'd love to see another packed out stadium for this rivalry game against the Chapman Panthers. Coach, any special other than senior night? Anything special we have going on Friday?
I think that's it. It's a senior night. A pretty big football game.
Yeah, a lot of seniors going to be recognized across all of our fall sports.
Yeah, we want to recognize all fall sports seniors, so it should be a good night.
Yes, sir. Well, as always, thank you guys for tuning in to the Woodruff Wolverine Coaches Show. My name is Brad Phillips. We are live here at Tap 3 every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. If you want to come out and hang with us, and BOGO flatbreads going all football season, you can come out and get a buy one, get one flatbread from Ben Harrison says he's going to keep those running. I think he's going to keep it running through the playoffs too. So
there you go.
So make sure you earmark it if you want to come out and have dinner and hang out with us for the Coaches Show on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. As always, great to see you guys. Thank you for joining in. We're going to sign off, and we will catch you again next week, same time here at Tap 3. Take care. We will see you guys next week.